Good morning, everyone, and welcome to American Scouser's Morning Coffee or Tea with American Scouser. It is Friday, and that's right, Reckless Friday it is. We are always brought to you by Reckless Coffee Roasters, but on Fridays, we're extra reckless, if you will. So John is here already. John, what's going on?
Trying not to be too reckless before a big game on Sunday, Tim. But yeah, I'm good. How is everyone?
And then we're waiting on. He should be joining us shortly on putting on his American Scouser hoodie and joining us. Which, by the way, if you are interested in not only supporting the site, but let me shoot that link while we're talking about it. Both supporting the site, not to mention wear some good comfy stuff instead of like ugly warrior jerseys, shirts,
I had to wash it.
Terrible,
Tim.
man.
I did. I had to wash it, and I was so annoyed that I had to wash it because that shit is so soft. For everyone who's watching, get the what was that hoodie, Tim? The sponge hoodie. Yeah,
It's the sponge hoodie, yeah.
It's soft as hell, guys. Get it, please.
Yeah, John asked which one, and I was like, "You should always get the sponge fleece if available." And yes, it has paid off because he hasn't stopped talking about it. Like in here, this one, you name it. But...
Literally, I just catch myself going like this. It's soft as hell, man. I love it.
So yeah, while Anan is getting the scans and find out the injury, he should be back shortly. We found out when everybody else is going to be back. Well, kinda. Like I think we do. So we'll talk about this first, and then we'll get to Sparta Prague, who I just had the joy of actually watching just yesterday. So I have done some early scouting on our behalf over here. Injuries. So Pep says Curtis Jones will remain sidelined until the March international break. Soboslai, Nunez, and Mo are injury doubts for Chelsea. So they're still like, I guess, what you would call day to day and to show up on the final. So we're not going to find out. They are practicing, which is always a good sign. But I'm not sure about exactly what Nunez has going on, but we know Mo and Soboslai are muscle injuries that if you rush them too soon, then you might lose them out for a while. So this is where it gets tricky, and we all need to use we need all the audience over here to kind of like help us figure out what he's saying, because I think we figured it out in the pre-match show. But so Jota, he says Curtis Jones will remain sidelined until the March international break, which is around the 20th, I believe is when the games are, 20th, 26th or something like that. And then says Jota, Alisson, and Trent Alexander-Arnold not due back until after the next round of internationals, which I do not see on the calendar anywhere for another international break unless he's talking about the Euros. So, John, is he basically saying what we think he's saying, where these guys will be available at the international break? So what ends up being right after the Everton game, like 17th, 18th, but the other three are not going to be available until after, which is the end of the month, March 31st.
Yeah, it's weird. Probably like we were talking about, it's like a lost in translation kind of thing. The good news is everyone was talking about how Jones's injury was super bad, but then to get him, after those rumors and to possibly get him after the internationals is something that I would take. So both like Trent are it's a different kind of problem. Although Tim here doesn't really mind if Trent is injured long term, but I digress.
Here's the thing. I feel like there is a backup for it that's doing extremely well, not just like a competent backup. Like before, if you just said Gomez is there, I'd be like, okay, we have a decent, competent backup to back out the position. He is not Trent, but he can fill in, kind of a thing.
Right.
But I feel like with Bradley right now with this form, we have more than that. So out of all the injuries, what I was saying was I'm worried about Becker the worst, because I feel like, we talked about it before, nobody can totally replace him. He's like world number one. at least top three, number one to us, but top three to most in the world. But the other ones, at least you have somebody to replace him with.
For sure. That goal that we conceded against Luton with the wicked bounce that went through Kelleher's legs, that led to the goal, was kind of like an everyday occurrence for the everyday keeper. Everyone was like, "Oh, Allison, it doesn't squeeze through Allison's legs or whatever." Yeah, because he's Allison, and unfortunately, we're gonna have to deal with maybe one or two human moments from time to time from our goalkeeper. And yeah, I agree with you, Tim. Becker is the biggest blow here, and Kazi kind of, uh, clarifies everything. And they've been cut. He says that after that we say March international break because we don't know. So it's kind of like a lost in translation kind of thing, thankfully. And definitely, I feel like they are going to be playing again this season, and he would have set out for the season. So it's not all doom and gloom, not yet. Yeah, we definitely need Allison more than the other two. I agree. For the run in. So yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag in terms of the news this morning. Some good, some bad, right? Like
Mostly bad. I mean,
mostly bad.
here's the
Yeah.
thing, because the Becker thing is bad, because when
Yeah.
it happens, it felt like it was going to be one of those things like, oh, he can't play today, so Keller is playing, and we're like, okay, and we got past that game, we're good. Now we're talking about like another month of no Becker, and that's kind of like concerning to me. Sergi says, is it me, or does Alisson get a lot of injuries for a keeper?
He does. I feel like, I played keeper. I wasn't the best, but I feel like the strain that the sweeper role puts on him is a lot. Like, obviously, human physiology is different from each player, right? Because Ederson does the same, and he doesn't get nearly as injured as much as Allison. So maybe it's like a genetics kind of thing for him. So I think that plays a part. Like, if you were going to ask him to play like a classic 2000s keeper, like a Petr Cech or whatever, I feel like he wouldn't get injured as much. But yeah, it's definitely concerning. He has like,
Yeah, that's fair. He does play
Yeah.
more as like a sweeper keeper.
right. If you give him like a 2-3 week buffer each year for him getting injured, I think that's fair. Right? He probably has like 2-3 weeks at least every year where he's like out because of a small injury or something, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, the way he plays, the way some of the goalies play, it is natural for him to like get more injuries. But I feel like, yes, compared to others, with goalies, sometimes you get some injuries that are like, like a shoulder dislocated, something like that, like coming down like a bit from like a like a cross or something like that. But so it's more long term. I would say probably more muscle injuries for me as a goalie. Like, I have not seen this many muscle injuries, but then again, goalies do not play this much with their feet as well.
Yeah, the thing with Allison is, imagine having to like stand from a neutral position, you're standing, and then having to sprint suddenly. Sometimes, obviously these guys do all the conditioning in the world, but sometimes, you tweak the wrong thing or you move the wrong thing at the wrong time, it gets something pulled or strained or something. So it's not completely out of the question.
Yes.
But yeah, it's just unfortunate. And thankfully we have a decent number two. And Sergi says, does Kelleher play every game now until Allison comes back? Yes, please. He should.
Yes, maybe you play. Where is actually? Let's take a look at that. I guess the first game is away. In an ideal scenario, for example, maybe you don't play him on March 14th against Sparta Prague at home if we get a good score in the first leg or something like that. If you need to rest them and you're looking to rest them, and I think goalies are probably the ones that you can get away with not resting as much. Southampton home, says Cosgrove. That's not a bad shot either. But I mean, here's the thing: the way it's looking, who's gonna play that game? You do need at least a goalie. If you put a kid in the goalie as well, I don't know. It's kind of gonna be like really tricky to figure out who the hell is showing up where. See, London Cup TV says play U18 Sunday. We still win. Rest the big boys. I don't feel as confident. Honestly, if I see Nunez and Mo trot out there, I would be a lot more confident and I wouldn't be as worried.
Right.
But without them, the same lineup, I mean, even you could tell by Klopp's response to the win that he thought it was
It was kind of scary there for a minute, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
and it was almost like we achieved the impossible kind of thing. Like that was his response. Anytime he makes a Barcelona reference alone, right? He was kind of first
Right.
of all he's talked about not bringing that up before and breaking his promise or whatever. Well, first of all, he had to pull that out of the bag to get the 3 points somehow. But not only that, I feel like it seemed like he looked at it in the same way where we were trying to achieve something extremely difficult that would need all hands on deck.
Yeah, he knew it would be difficult. The fact that he kind of riled up the crowd mid game to like stop with the murmuring, stop with the negative reaction to support the guys. Kind of felt like we need a bit we need something extra here. He even mentioned it in the press conference before the game where, hey, we need Anfield to be like a bear pit, the European atmosphere. So he knew the magnitude of the game. He knew what we were going to be facing in the injury front. So, yeah, I can't blame him for digging into his pockets for all the solutions probably needed to get us through there. Fair enough. It's his job. It's the manager. But, yeah, it's kind of an indication of what we're going through right now, which is supreme misfortune, right? Like,
yeah,
at the worst possible time.
It is at the
Jesus
worst
Christ.
possible time. And I think,
Yeah.
Especially with these games coming in now, it would be nice to get like a decent rotation going with the midweek games and stuff like that. And obviously, League Cup is going to be out of the picture now, but you're still going to be in like 3 different tournaments. And the Europa schedule is kind of,
Yeah,
it
the
is what it is.
good thing is these fringe players, the Elliots, the Gravenberches, who was pretty good, by the way.
Oh, I
Gravenberch.
was waiting for
Yes.
you to just
Gravenberch was pretty
dance
good.
in glory.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not gonna get on my high horse here and scream through the heavens, but more again, simplified performances. If nothing's going on, pass it back, pick your moments. He was very good at the press, mind you. I felt like he was arguably our best presser in midfield, Gravenberch. Fight me on this.
I will hold on. Like this
I
last
think
game,
he
he
was
was the
for this
best
game.
presser, you said?
Presser for this game for against Luton. I think he was. Like many of the attacks that we didn't convert at the first half were due to his pressing, I would feel. So, and again, simplified performance. I know it hurts Ryan, but
I could tell it hurts pain
Yeah.
Ryan.
I know it hurts
now.
Ryan.
Yes.
I know it hurts Ryan, but yeah, I got to give him props because I kind of had. I believe it was Sir Z who said prior to the show, prior to the match, that there's going to be a micro camera on him, considering who he's going to be replacing in that midfield. And yeah, pretty much he's pretty good.
Yeah, he did the job. He did the job. I know, like in the goal, somehow Gomez got blamed online when I was going around because he's the new Lauren of the defense. But I thought, he was partially at fault on that one.
To be fair, that entire right side kind of shut off.
There were like 3-4 people involved, and somehow people only look at the last action over there.
Yeah,
and put Gomez as the one in error, which I thought that could have been handled so many times before he got there, including Kelleher, obviously. But even before he got to Kelleher, it was like Bradley, then Gravenberch, Nicholas. I didn't even know who Gravenberch was covering there.
That's when I pulled. That's when I pulled that he's only 21 and raw.
There you go. Just pull it out of his hat. Okay, I got it. Gravenberch off the ball was boss, says London Cup TV. I think he was good. I'll give you that. I don't know if he was the best in pressing. What I noticed actually going back and watching the games, highlights and stuff, Robertson, he counter press and winning the ball in the last 2 goals is coming from Robertson's win. So like Diaz goal and Elliott's goal, it's Robertson that wins the ball basically pretty much in their final third that brings the goal. So I'm assuming he's definitely going to start. He should start as left back. As much as I love Gomez, I think you're going to have Robertson, and you probably save Robertson for the final in some ways as your left back, and play the entire game.
Yeah, Kazi made a great point on Robertson. I was a bit on the Gomez is kind of shafted front, where I felt like it was either fullback position was his to lose. The problem with Gomez is that he doesn't give you nearly as much on the other end compared to Bradley or Robertson. And we all know how much of a positive manager Klopp is. He just doesn't want to make things solid at the back. He also wants the people who are in charge of making things solid to provide some sort of attacking threat. So it would make the most sense to start Robertson and to start Bradley. Can't blame Robertson's first few appearances coming off the injury front. Like, obviously, whoever that is going to be a bit cold. But yeah, I agree with you. The counter pressing from him looked like classic Robertson, I would say. More of that in the final. And considering who we're missing, we'll definitely need him as an outlet. Especially if I think the big reason why Luis Diaz struggled throughout the game was because he didn't have an outlet there in the left. Like, I know I've been championing for Gomez there on the left side. Like, he missed a couple of chances.
Almost like having a back out wide.
Right.
Helps the other players you're saying.
Right. It did.
Okay, I'm just, you know.
Yeah. I know where you're going there, but we'll definitely go there eventually. We'll definitely go there eventually. But yeah, considering Diaz is a bit hit or miss with like the finishing front, like having Robertson there as an option is massive for him. You notice he got his goal when Robertson came on. Right?
Robertson probably was not so happy about because he's wide open. He's calling for the ball there. But I think, yes, having somebody who can overlap,
create space.
Even if you do not use the overlap, it takes the defender away or gets him flat-footed for a second, so you can cut in a lot easier.
Yeah, the Luton defender. Yeah, the Luton defender had Diaz on lockdown first half. Granted, he missed a few chances, but I felt like
he missed a lot.
Yeah, man. he missed a lot. But I felt like that was like a thing, kind of a mental thing, because the Luton defender was all over him, kind of got into his head a little bit, so he felt a bit rushed. I don't know. But
I think he's always like in his head. He always
is. Listen, we talk about Darwin getting in on his head when he's taking chances and everything. I feel like it's the same with Diaz as well. Like I remember I was seeing in the I didn't watch the game until later. I watched the replay, but I was seeing in the Discord Kazi talking about I miss Sadio Mane like 4 times. Yeah, and I understand that. I understand that sentiment. You know, Diaz is nowhere near the finisher as Mane, so we're just gonna
Michael Martin says, I hope our defenders never lock down like that, because I thought he was wide open so many times, and he probably should have had. I was saying in the Discord that if like Jota was there, he probably had a hat trick by halftime if he had the opportunities that,
for sure.
You know, but you can't fault the work rates and the willingness to chase balls and make those runs and stuff like that. So you got to give that credit. But man, some of his first touches and stuff like that were really scary. I was glad he did get that goal, because I think that will at least help him, because you didn't want Diaz finishing that game with like nothing to show for it, despite the work rate. Because I mean, I'm sure he knows the involvement and stuff like that, and I'm sure like the coaching staff appreciates it. But as a player, you probably want to get something out of there. Football Flashback is predicting the lineup, which is a copy paste basically, except we're putting Konate. He's putting Konate instead of Kwanzaa. I still put Robertson as the starting left back in this game, exactly for what you said. Having seen what we just saw, nothing like having a back who can go out wide and do those overlap runs, you know, instead of parking in midfield. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing
I wonder who that's for.
I'm just throwing it out there. You take it any way you want to take it, buddy.
Yeah.
I think we're only the little fans that we're not impressed by Diaz.
Really? Well, here's
the thing.
Yeah.
If this game ends 1-0 and 1-1, those pundits are not saying that shit.
Yeah.
It's easier to say that after the game.
I think the goal that he got as well kind of alleviated a lot of the stuff that he missed. True. So like it kind of papers over the cracks, if you will. But if he gets 2 or 3 chances like that in the final, you should expect him to at least bury 2. That's all I'm saying. Because if he misses all 3 like he did in the first half, oh boy.
No, they're not ruled out.
No, they're not ruled out.
Basically a game time decision, if you will. Probable. No, as they say in NFL. Not even probable, more like a game time decision.
Game time decision, probable, doubtful. Like in the NBA, it's the same, and it annoys the hell out of me. So is he playing or not? God damn it!
In NBA, it's more like he's being rested, load management.
Oh, bro,
NBA has become the biggest joke.
Let's not go there. I feel like this podcast would last.
Oh, that's why you're wearing Warriors, because they beat the Lakers yesterday, didn't they?
Oh well, LeBron wasn't playing, man. Like
Exactly.
I'm just happy that we're getting some wins. You know, it's
That's
been
why NBA regular season is a joke and playoff is a second close.
well to enjoy the playoffs, Tim, you have to make the playoffs, and the Warriors have been struggling early on. We've kind of found a rhythm now, so you know, interest is back in. People are going like, maybe the run for the title is coming back. I don't know. But yeah, we found a good flow lately, and the games have been more interesting to watch, looking more like classic Warriors. I know last night was without LeBron with the Lakers, but we'll take any win we can get at this point.
Michael Martin says load management is NBA for squad rotation. The problem is, I think, especially with a game like I would just totally the classic morning fashion, we're going off the rails here. But I feel like in a game like basketball, mainly because you do have only 5 dudes on the court, and it's a very superstar based league overall. And I don't know if that's because there's only 5 dudes anyway. I mean, you can take that any way you want, but it's very based on like who's out there in terms of your superstars. You know, like you have the big three, big 2, big 4, whatever you got is basically what carries you. And when those guys don't play because they're being rested or whatever, here's an idea: don't play 80 goddamn games and play less games and play the guys. What I would hate is, and what I really hate is, and this is why, you know, I was like a huge Kobe fan back in the day when he was talking about you get your ass out there and play.
Right, exactly.
Because like I know as like somebody in Chicago, like, you know, if you wanted to go, let's say go see Lakers, right? Compared to a regular Bulls game, especially, I don't even know how the Bulls are doing right now, to be honest with you. I don't follow them.
They're mid.
Just wake me up when we get to the playoffs. But you know, if the normal tickets are like, I don't know, like $30-$40 or whatever, when the Lakers come to town, it becomes like 140, 150 and stuff like that.
Don't get me started.
You buy those tickets and then you go to the game. So you spend, I don't know, this is going to be like a family of 4, but yeah, like a family of 4, you basically spend $1,000 to go there, and LeBron is being rested for load management. Yeah, I would just jump over the bench and like kill somebody, because that's just like ridiculous. And that's the part I don't like about that. I feel like with like soccer, that's what I hate about like them adding more and more games, because I feel like we're coming to that where rotation is becoming more and more important. I think in the past, you kind of, before they did all the midweek games every week, you kind of like expected your starting 11 to be out there when you went to a game.
There's a bigger incentive now to play every game. I don't know if you caught this news, Tim, where you have to play at least 65 games to be eligible for awards. And that's great. So, you know,
but you have to play 65 games, so I can show up in the last 30 seconds and be like,
well, yeah, technically you can, but obviously if you have your star player available, you should be playing him at least.
You should be, but
at least 30 minutes. But yeah, I agree with you. Like, I don't necessarily agree that playing half the games is the issue, because back then, you know, in the Jordan era and the Kobe era, those guys played as long as they can play. I think it's actually a mentality issue, not a scheduling issue.
Mentality issue. It could be these guys are worth a lot more money now, so it's like kind of like protecting your investment kind of a deal for
That's
like owners and coaches. But it is kind of like a
that's ridiculous,
that kind of thing. So as he says, clips on LFC yeah, they're training. Like I say, the concern I have is we saw what happens. Yes, at London County says if I'm expected to pay $1,000, I'm expecting to play.
Goddamn. Don't get me started about the Knicks ticket prices, man. The Warriors are fucking mid this year, and and if I saw the Knicks prices on like the farthest seats, it's like $300.
Is that like the Madison Square Garden effect? Like
Madison, it's the Madison Square Garden. Even when the Knicks were shit, they were still charging premium prices.
Yeah, I remember like we were on a trip and we were like, it would be almost like a tourist attraction. We can go to a game kind of thing, and it was just like, yeah, no thanks.
Yeah,
that's
sure.
For that much, we'll buy a tourist attraction for that money instead of what it looked like. Going back to Nunez and Salah and stuff, same thing with Szoboszlai. I mean, especially with Szoboszlai, we know, right? He came back, and maybe Mo. Because of those muscle injuries, I mean, we had no idea watching Mo. That was what, Bournemouth, right? Oh no, Brentford game.
Brentford, yeah.
And I had no idea. I was like, hey, look at the impact. He's back, baby, kind of a thing. And then afterwards, it's kind of like he feels the muscle, and that's what I worry about. But let me ask you that: do you risk it for this final, even if he is going to be out for another 2 weeks?
How big is the chance that we're talking about that he's out?
I mean, you don't know. I mean, if you knew, then you would. There would be a lot more specific signs.
Right.
But
Like,
your risk
I
right
would.
now of bringing them early and throwing them out there is one. If they feel something, you have to sub them earlier, so you lose a sub. But aside from that, they might come out and be like, they're out for 2 weeks now. For example, they might not play against City on March 10th.
That's tough. I
Because
mean,
if they're out for 2 weeks,
yeah,
that's gone.
I wouldn't start them. They're definitely going to be coming off the bench for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd still be playing them, Tim. It's a final. These are two of our best attackers. I would definitely play them. Listen, there's a risk, but there's always a risk, isn't there? Even if they're healthy, right? There is a risk. So if we're talking about risk reward, this is a trophy we're talking about. It's right in front of us. Yeah, I'll go for it. Like, I know pragmatic approach.
You'll go for it. You said you'll go for it, and then you put them on the bench.
No, I'll go for putting them on. Was that your question?
No, are you starting
them? Starting them? Oh, no, I'm not starting them.
You're not starting either one of them?
No, I'm not starting them.
Okay.
Yeah. Would you?
Cup TV says need to keep Mo away from internationals. Are those guys playing internationals too? I'm sure they are, because I know they're going. I mean, because I know like Turkey is in it, but from what I know, they're just basically playing like almost like Euro preseason games, if you will, because they're going to be in the Euros. But I mean, there's no qualifiers or anything like that, right? I mean, not that I know of, at least not in Europe, at least. Unless it is, or is it for the World Cup that we're doing this? If anybody knows in the audience, because Turkey is actually playing Hungary, and then Austria, and from what I know, both of them are just like, they're both friendlies. I don't know if anybody is really doing like any qualifiers or anything like that.
For everyone in the chat, would you start or rather risk Nunez and Salah for minute 1? Just curious.
Yes, I would love to know that. London Cup TV says Nunez has to start. I don't like what is. I mean, Nunez's issue is not.
We don't even know what Nunez's issue is. Like, there's no concrete, like, what is it? What's the part, right? It's just like he felt something minor, right? That's the best we know.
Yes.
So,
but wasn't he also left in a boot? Wasn't he the one
Yeah.
who was referring to? They both left in a boot kind of thing after the game. So that's kind of correct. London Cup TV says Egypt has a friendly to play. But I'm assuming you can be like, it's just a friendly. But I know they have a new manager and stuff who's already talking shit about Mo leaving. And going back to that, I said it then and I will say it again. I know as a Liverpool fan, we were happy that he came back and we can treat him and stuff like that. Right. But as you know, someone Turkish, if a Turkish player did that, I wouldn't, especially your captain, your leader, your biggest player, I would not be too happy about that. And I would talk a lot of shit about that player. Well, I'll be honest. Like leaving the tournament, like you're there for not just playing, you're just there as part of the team, as part of the leader, the face of the team, you name it. So you leaving in the middle of the tournament, there has to be so much other stuff going on in the background.
I would agree, Tim, but for the Philippine national team, we'd actually have to have these good players commit to the team first. So, like, we got some Premier League players, Premier League quality players who have Filipino descent, but they don't want to commit to the national team for some reason. Areola from West Ham has Filipino blood, but he committed to the French team. I was like,
I think those guys only commit because I know like the same thing has happened like for the Turkish national team. If they can make the German team, they're German. If they can't make the German team, they've always been Turkish. Like, my blood is black, red and white. Because like Emre Can, Gündoğan, Özil. Yeah. But then Özil, when he became old and not good enough for the Premier League and everywhere else in Europe, suddenly was Turkish as can be. And then came back to Turkey because he was Turkish all along.
I agree with Serzi. Areola's a tit, a massive one. I agree.
This just in, Areola's a tit. Speaking of, by the way, let's go back to the schedule over here. Other big news of the day is Sparta. What used to be Sparta Prague. Sparta Prague is the new official name, if you will, is our matchup over there. How do you like them apples?
I'm not going to say too much because I probably am going to get blamed if things go south. But I'm happy. That's all I would say. I'm happy.
Yeah, I'll take it. There were
Yeah.
worse options.
Mhm.
And I don't know if there were a lot of better options, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I just watched them. I mean, in both legs, because they were matched against Galatasaray. So that was the only interest in watching them, hoping for a Galatasaray loss. And it came. I mean, to be fair, Galatasaray won it in the last minute in Istanbul. But then yesterday, it was a close game until a red card. And then it just kind of like went downhill from there. And then they came back and they beat them 4-1 at the end. I think they scored another one in the last second. It was like a FIFA goal, like two guys passing back and forth to each other in front of the goal. But like physical team, they have a small stadium, but you can tell it gets like really loud in there and really,
Right.
they're behind the team. So it is a tough away match. But having said that, I mean, they're really good in like sending balls in the box. That they're a good team like that. They had a couple of good wingers. But then again, they were going against Galatasaray, who actually has like a really good squad, but they were kind of like out of it. It looked like they went over there just to like show up, and then when they got punched in the mouth, they're a really physical team. So it's not a team that before anybody says putting the kids out there and stuff like that.
Oh, hell no.
It is not. They're a very, very physical team. So you have to have muscle out there, especially when we go away. I'm London Cup TV is saying too, like away is not easy. No, but you go there, you put in a good shift. What does it end up being? Let's take a look at that. So it's
Yeah, the worst.
the problem with this is it is 3 days before the City game. So we go away to Forest, and then Sparta Prague is the 7th, and then 10th is the City game.
Are we home or away?
The first game we're away.
Oh,
So I don't know if you roll the dice and then
See,
if things go south, you trust Anfield's.
see, rolling the dice gives me. I don't know if you recall, Tim. 2019, we played Red Star Belgrade away. We lost 2-0.
Oh yes,
Yes, bear pit atmosphere. I feel like it's going to be the same with these guys.
Yes.
I don't think we can. I mean, we can put some stars off the bench, do a 60-30 for some folks.
You don't
With
really,
the hope.
based on the news I just gave you, you don't really have a lot of.
Nah, I mean 60-30 on the likes of maybe an Endo McAllister kind of deal.
Okay.
6, yeah. But like in terms of the other positions, yeah, I get you. We don't really have the luxury of doing 60-30s. But Ryan said he rolled the dice. Yeah, I'd like to believe people are going to be really split on this. I think we have to take it seriously, for the record, because we can't risk going down 0-1, 0-2. I know we're going to be going at Anfield, but it's still a deficit. You'll never know what can happen in this game. So I'd take it seriously.
I probably put as much rotation as possible without going to the kids level, because that's a pretty rough atmosphere for kids to go out into. But so I mean, once we have this final here, you play Southampton. I think we're on the agreement that you kind of rotate as much as possible for Southampton. You go away to Forest full force, and then you rotate as much as possible when you go over to Sparta, and then you go full force against City at home, and then you have Sparta at home, and then you have the derby against Everton.
Yeah, we rotated a few times Europa League away, and we ended up losing. Right. So
yes,
yeah, that's the problem, and we're literally at a point now where we can't fuck around.
But that was that because it was just a game. So the mindset is a lot different, right? Like it was just a game. Yeah. We were already going through anyway. I guess let's go to Belgium. And then, you go there and you rotate and it's kind of disconnected and it's normal. Whereas now, do you think it would be different in terms of the approach overall for the guys who are not rotated, like the regulars that are playing? Because I think sometimes when you rotate a lot, and some regulars are out there, it's like a mixed signal to the regulars, because they're like, okay, so this is not as important kind of a thing. And they knew that we were already going to go through. Do you think that would make a difference compared to like going away to Belgium, for example?
It does, because it's still the Europa League round of 16, if I'm not mistaken. It's the knockout stages. Obviously, there's going to be a different mentality for our players, but there's also going to be a different mentality for their players. Playing at home, in front of those rabid fans, it's going to be rough. So I don't know. We don't have the luxury of rotating and still having, world class to great talent out there. So it's gonna be interesting, and a lot depends on, I guess, the form of certain players, the Gravenbergs, the Elliots. If Salah and Nunez are gonna get healthy, listen, if Salah and Nunez get back into any sort of playing shape, that's a massive boost. So that I think is gonna be,
and that's what brings us to the: do you risk him for the cup final then? Because it would be key to have them and Szoboszlai available. It's a lot easier to rotate. What you had going against Luton, and you look at that bench, that bench was actually sad in terms of hope.
Yeah, I'd still have them starting off the bench, Tim, with the for the cup final, assuming that both of them aren't really as healthy as they should be. If Salah is like 70%, 80%, I'd start him at right wing for sure. Elliott was good, but again, first it was against Luton. Second, he really struggled in the first half and kind of picked it up towards the second. He's not a right winger. We all know that. He's way better if we put him where McAllister was, probably put Gravenberg on the bench and have McAllister on that left side with Endo. So right wing, I think, is the biggest issue here. If Mo or Darwin are 80, 85%, I would start them on right wing or whatever position in the attack and have an actual attacker play that right wing over Elliott.
Yeah, he just lacks the top speed. I think that you get with like Mo. You don't have that danger. I really like how when he does get the ball, though, he does go at the defense and kind of like scares him in that sense, because his passing is real good. I mean, I think he's the one with the ball to Diaz in the second one that he missed after the first one he missed, like over the top. I know Ando had like a great pass to Diaz. You'd pick him. There's no way either Salah or Nunez aren't going to want to play in a cup final. I wouldn't start him though, says Serzi. Yeah,
Tim, you never said how you would do it.
That's why I only asked the questions. But yeah. I'm hoping I would try to start one of them. I think you do need to start one of them. Like whoever is the higher percentage, like you were saying, you kind of print one of them. I know these guys get reports from like the medical staff saying he can give you 60, he can give you 70 minutes. So obviously that's going to be important. And this is not a game where you're going to be like sometimes we say it in like a Southampton game, like go out there, get the score ready, and then put the kids in. This is not a game like that. So in some ways, especially since he can go to overtime and stuff like that, I think maybe you do keep him on the bench to start with, just the overtime factor alone, because you're not looking just at 90 minutes. You're possibly looking at 120, and you don't want to go to the 70th minutes, have to take these guys out, and then now in overtime you're playing with kids. So
let me ask you
for the best.
Let me ask you to be the question asker person for once. If both were at a similar percentage in terms of playing, like let's say both Salah and Nunez were 80%, who would you start and who would you want off the bench? Given everything you said,
Nunez just because I think Mo is more important in the long term.
Probably the same.
That's almost like asking which one would you rather have injured if you had to pick one, if there's a gun to your head. And that that's how I'm kind of like answering it, I should say. Like that's why I would say Nunez.
I mean, I was thinking about what you said. If with the possibility of it going to extra time, Salah coming off the bench is huge, right?
Yes.
So, but either way, I don't think you could go wrong with any of them, because there's a possibility if you start Salah, we finish it off quickly, right? Like given the chances he creates, his finishing, all that.
So London Cup TV has pretty much another copy paste. Oh no, Nunez is in there. So Nunez is in there instead of Elliott.
Gonna be interesting.
So I'm assuming like Gakpo is on the right wing or Diaz is on the right wing or something like that. And then obviously Bradley, Robertson, Van Dijk, Konate. I think I'm going with the same exact lineup that we just started. I am totally copy pasting it, except Konate for Kwanzaa. And Robertson for Gomez in the starting 11. I think I'm keeping that lineup, keeping the other guys on the bench. So if things don't go well, you have a chance to start them. Like you have a chance to put those guys in there to change the game and stuff. And if things are going well, you get best of both worlds. You win your first trophy, and then you did not risk those guys.
Yeah, we're gonna have to start my boy Gravenberg, aren't we, people? For those, this final is not for the squeamish. Gravenberg starting a League Cup final. Let's go.
Yes, right. He was talking about. I saw like a quote about him, like talking about like going to Wembley and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
yeah, it's I don't know. The kid has been unreal. I know there's like some like times where like physically he's not there yet. He's still a
yeah.
kid playing against men at times, but man, his like vision, his passing, um, his defending, tracking back, work rates and stuff like that. And the width he gives you, and he does do those, at times the inverter role where he does come in. But what I like is he picks his spots. He doesn't park there and then go out when the opportunity is there. He's the other way around. He's outside and comes in when the opportunity is there. And I think that will be big. I would think we would play a bit more careful with that, like against a team like Chelsea as opposed to Luton. But what do you think of Chelsea, by the way? I mean, it's not the same team we just hammered a month or so ago.
I don't like how hot and cold they are, because that team has some great players, right? They're just not gelling together. And you always have the feeling where, what if this is the game where things just start to click for them, right? Like the negative side of me just goes like, fucking hell, they have Nkunku off the bench. Jackson's like kind of like a Nunez mold where he's either off or he's always on. Yeah, Gallagher is a threat on the press. Fernandez is a really good midfielder. They just haven't managed to knit things together. And Poch is a great manager, no matter what Chelsea fans say. I think he's a good manager. It's just a matter of time, I think, if they give him the opportunity to build his own squad and, kind of have these players gel. So I actually am going to go out on a limb here and say I like the fact more like 2 years ago, we knew we were going to be facing a good Chelsea team when Tuchel was their manager. We knew they were good, and we knew we had to be good to beat them. This not knowing how they're going to be is kind of making me supremely uncomfortable, because like some fans are going like, it's going to be fucking easy even with the injuries. These Chelsea aren't the same Chelsea. Are they though? Like, are they not? It's like it makes you second guess yourself, and that uncertainty kind of makes it, kind of catches me off balance. So I'd still be treating them with respect, a lot of respect, just to be safe.
Yeah, I mean, like Little says, it's not the deal with Chelsea. They're always hot and cold. I mean, and because they're actually cold,
yeah, they're
but
cold
they have
now.
Players who can get hot.
Right,
so
exactly.
It's a bad team with good players, so they can create a moment, they can affect the score with what they do, with their ability and quality, but really they do not play well as a team.
Kind of like, it's not a 1-to-1 comparison, but when we weren't good under Hudson, under Dalglish the second time, and under the last year of Benitez, we had great players in a team that wasn't quite gelling. But when we faced the big boys, we gave them a game. At the very least, when we faced the Uniteds, the Chelseas, the Arsenals, we gave them a game. So there's still that thing with Chelsea. They still could give us a game. They literally drew with City the other day and could have easily won that game, mind you, if Jackson scored 2 or 3 of those chances. So
I mean, honestly, look at their schedule. I mean, I was just like looking at that, and I mean, they've lost after we hammered them. Like everybody's making it sound like, they're like, they lost the Wolves at home 4-2, and they beat Chelsea, Villa away in the cup, and then they beat Palace away, and then they have the City game. And I'll be honest, obviously we were rooting for them, but City could have had so many freaking goals. I mean, if
Chelsea as well, though,
half the stuff that Haaland was missing that game, we'd be hammering them, saying like, "Oh, he's not the guy" and stuff like that. They could have, but I think I agree with what London Cup is. I think the first goal in this game, I feel like they're a lot more fragile as a team compared to those two, like Chelsea's. First of all, they don't defend as well, and they're a lot more fragile. If you get the first goal on them, and they're not able to counter, London Cup TV says if we play a counterattack style, Chelsea have no chance. And that's why I think having somebody like Nunez out there would be huge, because I think right now, aside from Diaz, you don't have a lot of top speeds to kind of like challenge.
Gakpo can get it going when he's in full stride.
But he drops too low. You know what I mean? Like for you to hit him on the counter and stuff like that, I would rather have Nunez out there to terrify them for one.
I like Gakpo as the outball guy. Like he's the guy that you give it to and then he releases either Nunez or Diaz. I like him there. Or Salah, mind you. Like,
yeah, so I think if we get the first goal, this could end up being like the same game, like the 4-1 game where it looks almost like too easy. If we let them score, they are dangerous on the counter. Like if we're the ones with the more of the possession constantly like trying to like they parked the bus and they had a lot of counter opportunities. You thought they would have put that game away against City. They had like a 4-on-2, they had a 3v3, they had a 3v2 at one point, and they could not capitalize on any of them. So they can counter, and they're dangerous on the counter. That's why the first goal is going to be important, and that's never a good sign when we say that for us because we take pride in conceding first.
Ryan here says he predicts Diaz having a monumental game. So let me ask you, Tim, who do you think is going to be our standout, or rather our key player on Sunday?
McAllister.
Same. I was going to go McAllister too. So I'll go someone different. But why McAllister? I'll go someone different. So I was like, damn it, he said McAllister. All right, I'll go with my second choice. But yeah, why McAllister?
Why McAllister?
Yeah.
Because this is basically exactly what Sir Z is saying there.
Yeah.
We need that midfield. I think that's where their strength is in some ways. So if you control that midfield, I don't trust their back line as much, at least in terms of cohesion. So you control that and a couple of through balls. I think you get a goal, man. Just got to be more clinical. I mean, you could say the same thing about the Luton game. You know, we talked about before going into the game. If you get an early goal, this could be an easy game. And the 3rd minute and the 5th minute, you had 2 golden opportunities to get that early goal, and then the rest was going to be easy. We just could not finish, kept Luton in the game. They get a goal. It gets a lot trickier. And I feel the worst, like the same thing could happen in this game. So an early goal would go a long way. And I don't know, like for Chelsea, this is one of the few things they got.
Yeah.
So it's a lot, you know, when they went to Villa, for example, and beat Villa, you could tell they were playing like a team, like this is all they have. Whereas, you know, we're kind of like all over the place competing in multiple fronts.
Yeah.
And obviously like the injuries to go with that. But yeah, I don't know. Like we're still favored despite the injuries. Like the football flashback can tell you from the bookies. But London Cup TV says, "Oh yes." So who was your second choice, by the way?
Van Dijk.
Oh, okay. See, London Cup TV thought you were going to go with Gravenberch, which
I mean, Gravenberch is the obvious choice, but like, yeah, that's a good shout though, Gravenberch, considering.
I'm warming up.
You know what? Yeah, Gravenberch. But then I don't want to appear biased too much. Like Anand's already the other half of this show, and he loves.
Who has disappeared, by the way? He went to get a hoodie and he never showed back up. So
right, yeah,
there's like a black hole in that closet or something. I don't know where he was. I know he was driving. So hopefully he's okay.
He's all right. Yeah, Jesus.
There, yeah. Like, go ahead.
No, yeah. So Van Dijk for me, obviously, first cup final for him, leading the team as a captain. You did mention a lot. Chelsea on the counterattack is their biggest strength. We need him and Konate to be locked in there, like as in shutting down anything, winning every aerial duel. I remember seeing this stat on Twitter the other day where Van Dijk has won every aerial duel he's faced for the last 4 or 5 games, which is insane. Like
he's back to his
right
normal self. Really, it is really, really nice to see that he's back to his normal self. Because it does help everyone in that back line. I mean, we know the impact he had when he came in. When he plays like that, everything looks a lot better overall. And especially with like Ali being out, he's that duo over there is going to be key what they do in this game. But Gravenberch really
is a good shout. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of like an X factor, right? Sergi says Anand pulled a muscle out till the next international. It's good.
Did you beat him in FIFA again, Tim? Is why he's like kind of. Did you beat him again? That's why.
No, I have not. Honestly, if you guys notice, ever since I beat him on FIFA, he has not been on air. So yeah, that is a good common theme that I just noticed. Yes, maybe he's just practicing FIFA nonstop, His
Yeah.
thumbs are he has his thumbs on ice because he's practicing so hard. I have no idea, but yeah, I don't think I'll see him on FIFA anytime soon. I think he's using that feature where you show yourself offline, so you don't, so people don't send you invites for games.
I do that a lot because my friends always want to get on freaking Destiny, and I just want to play my single player, man. So just leave me alone. Appear
I've
offline.
never done Destiny actually. We're gonna start. Actually, I would love to get some feedback because we will start for our Patreon. We were talking about with like Matush and anybody else who wants to kind of jump on, do like either like Football Manager or FIFA or something along the lines of gaming because we talk so much gaming and there's a lot of gamers amongst us. Well, Anan not included, I guess, but like there's like some decent gamers amongst us. Let's go with that one. So yeah, we want to get something going. So if anybody has ideas, anybody wants to hop on somehow and contribute, let us know. Which, speaking of, by the way, the Patreon is available and is out. Good way to get a lot of additional content and obviously support the site as well. If you sign up with even the smallest plan, it gets you a lot of like additional content. Which is
check out the website as well and read my latest piece on.
Speaking of, I know we're almost gone, but your Gravenberg piece got a lot of like feedback online because I think it is a really, really hot topic. He has probably Nunez loves Gravenberg because we talk less about Nunez now.
Sorry, Tim. Sorry, what kind of feedback?
Well, I'll let you go to the Facebook groups and read for yourself. Yeah. But no, actually, I think some people didn't like it at all. But most people gave their take on Gravenberg, and I think I would say the consensus is from the comments I've seen. There's always a couple of jerks who are just like, I don't agree. He's like, okay. Like, I love when people say, like, I don't agree. But it's like, okay, like, don't agree with what? Then say what you think, but whatever. I would say like 80-90% of the comments I saw were kind of along the same lines of what you wrote in Stern's. Like we all see a player in there. We're just going to give it some time.
I saw Ryan's. I just saw Ryan's comment. This one was written for me. maybe not, Ryan. But one day, Ryan, I'll turn you into a Gravenberg believer.
The bad comments are probably Ryan's like other accounts that he's logging in as and like shitting on the article under like a different name or something like that. But okay, before we head out, because looks like Anand is not going to show up anyway. Prediction time. I know we're going to be here early for the pre-match. With almost like a full squad, I think. So there's going to be a lot of us there. So we'll do some.
Not me.
Pre and post.
Not me.
Not you.
I'm going to the pub.
Oh, you're going to the pub?
Yeah.
You got a fake ID or something, or
no? Tim catching me off guard. You're exposing my tactics. Jesus Christ, man.
No, seriously. How old are you?
Sorry.
How old are you?
All right, guess.
23.
You're there, but no.
Okay, so like let's play Guess John. Don't worry, John. Probably the same FSG. Wait, you're not okay. So
you're warm, but you're not quite there yet. A little bit more.
Oh, really? 26. Yeah.
Super duper close. 27.
Really? Okay. Yeah. See, I thought you were younger than that. So maybe you're not as young as we give you credit for. Gravenberg is genie in disguise. I really think so, and I think down the line he's going to be that guy.
Welcome to the Gravenberg fan club.
Yes, when we look back, we're going to be like, oh, man, we remember how we struggled initially kind of a deal. But I do think he's going to turn around. Like I say, I would say 80% of the feedback, and there was a lot of feedback in a couple of the different Facebook groups, like everybody chiming in, which is great to see, by the way, like giving their like takes and stuff like that. And I would say most of the takes, like I said, is along the same lines where we have a player there. Just going to give it time. It's a guy. I always say he hopped on the elevator right when the doors are closing. No preseason, nothing like that.
Let's give him a chance, people.
Yes, and then here's another thing. Of course, we don't know how we're going to play going forward. So we might be playing a system that suits him more. Or we play a system that takes advantage of him more, knowing he's only 21 and we have like a skilled player on our hands. But
exactly,
if we stayed in the same system, I agree with what like London Cup TV is saying on Instagram that it would be a player that can fill in that genie role, win balls, control balls, and I think he's a bit more. If anything, he's a bit more adventurous than Genie and Jones, which is a good and a bad. I think that's when Jones got better, is when he knew to pick his spots to be adventurous. But yeah, he's definitely going to be an X factor. And maybe come Monday or in the post match, we'll be talking about how he won us the trophy, like you know how Minamino won us some trophies
Yeah.
along the way over here. So prediction time as we head out.
2-0 Liverpool.
Damn, I had the same one. I'm going with 2-0 Liverpool as well. I was gonna go to I almost had the Timuchin special, and then Elliot scores another one too. So I was like,
all right, let's make this more interesting. Who's scoring and how is the game gonna turn out?
Diaz and Mac.
Diaz and Mecca. I would have Gravenberg as the first goal. And Salah to seal it off the bench.
Nobody saw this coming.
Yeah.
Okay.
Salah to seal it off the bench.
Yeah, let's hope so, man. And an early goal, let's get the first trophy. I think it'll be a huge boost, especially if we can do it while not risking anybody or not risking them a lot. So let's see how that goes. But we'll be here Sunday once the lineups come out. Whoever shows up on that lineup, we'll be here for the pre-match. London Cup TV is going with 3-0. I'm loving the confidence overall of keeping them shut out, and I think that's our chance to win. I mean, when we played them last time, everybody was like, it's going to be another 0-0, 1-0 and stuff like that. But if we score, this could be another 4-1 game as well, really, if we score early. But I'm thinking it's going to be pretty cagey. Oh, this will make you happy. See, London Cup TV says 3-0, Gravenberg with a hat trick.
Let's fucking go. We have another member of the Gravenberg Believers Club. There's only 2 people, myself and London Cup TV. That's it.
No, you have a lot of followers that aren't with it. But we'll call it a day, and we'll put a bola on our friend Anan over here. See where the hell he's at.
Put out an APB for Anan. Jesus, where is he?
If you see a guy furiously practicing FIFA, please let us know, because it's probably Anan trying to do a comeback. But yes, we'll be back in the pre-match. Thanks as always for watching, commenting, following. As I always say, go grab a friend, pull him by the ear, drag him by the ear, and say subscribe to this account, because really we grow kind of like my recommendation over here. So just pass the word, spread the word, share the link, do what you got to do. And then we'll be back on Sunday where Liverpool does what they have to do and hopefully get our first trophy of the season. Have an excellent Friday and Saturday, people. We'll see you guys Sunday. Take care.
Take care, guys.